Hey guys, Josh here. Welcome to Run DNA. Today it's shoe review time, and this is one we've been super excited to get stuck into. In front of me, I have the Metaspeed racing family from ASICS, the Tokyo release, which has only just gone to market a couple of weeks ago here in Australia. So there are two different models. You've got the Edge and the Sky. So the Edge is on my right, your left, and the Sky is my left, your right. Side by side, you can be right in saying that they look exactly the same in reference to their positioning, almost identical. However, there is some subtle variances in reference to how ASICS have engineered these shoes underneath the foot. So in today's review, we're going to talk about the subtle variances between the two, talk about why ASICS have made it so challenging for us in reference to picking your next racing shoe and where you should go, one or the other, and give you all the information at home that will hopefully allow this process to be much more seamless for you. So without further ado, let's get stuck in. Okay, before we get stuck into the midsole and the carbon plate positioning of this shoe, I just want to talk to the upper very quickly because the shoe itself is exactly the same from Edge to the Sky. We have the Motion Wrap 3.0 technology. Now, it's very, very similar to last year's Paris model, which was Motion Wrap 2.0. So all ASICS have done is rolled over that very successful technology and placed it on top of this new Tokyo series with some subtle refinements. Very open, breathable mesh through the forefoot, a little bit of, you would say, tighter weave in reference to that first to fifth metatarsal line. Very, very thin tongue, again, to provide a minimalistic feel on top of your arch. But as we come back to the heel counter, it has been ever so slightly refined from last year's Paris model. The new Tokyo, a bit of a reduction in weight, still a little bit of foam at the back here to provide an element of comfort as you step into the shoe. But for the most part, this shoe is all about weight reduction and, of course, providing as much breathability as possible. Okay, let's get to the midsole part of the review today, because that's where all the magic happens with all racing shoes. Metaspeed Edge. Now, the carbon plate is more aggressive with reference to its positioning from the midfoot right through to the forefoot. Dips right down and gets relatively close to the ground in comparison to the Metaspeed Sky, where from the midfoot through to the forefoot, the carbon plate is actually closer to the foot. Now, why have ASICS done that? Well, they've done it in conjunction with the two different foams. Their Flight Foam Leap technology, which is an ATPU compound and aliphatic thermoplastic urethane, which in the Sky, that sits on top of the carbon plate, in comparison to the Flight Foam Turbo Plus, which sits underneath the carbon plate. In reference to the Metaspeed Sky, the Flight Foam Leap, the ATPU midsole, is underneath the carbon plate where the Turbo is on top. Now, the Turbo is a PEBA-based foam. Generally speaking, PEBA is a slightly more responsive compound, but through the engineering process at ASICS with their ATPU foam, that new Leap technology, they've been able to manufacture a lighter, snappier foam. 15% lighter and 30% more responsive. That's according to ASICS research and data they have made public. The two are significantly different in reference to the output. As I have addressed, that carbon plate through the forefoot and the Edge is more responsive on toe-off, and with the carbon plate close to the forefoot in the Metaspeed Sky, it just provides a slightly more stable feel with reference to mid-stance to toe-off. If you're the runner who's looking at a race day shoe, what we're trying to get out of our racing shoes is something that's going to reduce our perceived effort and give us confidence on every single step. So what ASICS is saying is that the Sky is designed for an overstrider and the Edge is designed for someone who has a high cadence, shorter stride. So they've kind of pitched these shoes at specific runners. Well, you can take that and run with it, or you can use it and I would say take that with a grain of salt, to be completely honest with you, because both shoes, while they have a value proposition to different running foot types, it is all about which one feels easier to run in. I think it's a fantastic play from ASICS. However, it just makes it so confusing for you, the running community. Which one do I go for? So to really break that down, it is all about perceived effort. Which shoe is easier to run in? And that's very easy to say. If you haven't had a racing shoe before, you're going to come into a store like ours, you're going to try both shoes on, and you're going to feel pretty light, very snappy. It's going to feel significantly different than what you probably have been running in previously, especially if you're looking for first carbon plated shoe. What we really need to look at and what we really need to understand is, one, what distance you're doing, and two, what are you experiencing in reference to your toe off? Because stability plays a factor in all shoes. Doesn't matter if it's racing, super trainers or your mileage shoes. Stability still plays a factor. But shoes like this, what's it like when you're toeing off? Do you feel like it's effortless? Are you getting out of your gait cycle with more efficiency? Now, between the two as well, when you have more aggressive carbon plate positionings like we do in the Edge, generally speaking, what we do see, doesn't matter if the runner is heel striking, midfoot striking, or forefoot striking, is that the resupination phase on their toe off is more noticeable and is more aggressive. So when you have the carbon plate that sits a little bit closer to the foot, meaning that you don't have to push through that top layer of foam as much to engage with that rigid carbon plate technology, the actual resupination on toe off isn't quite as aggressive. So therefore, the two side by side, you would probably suggest the Edge is designed for more of that serious runner, someone that it can tolerate that really peak acceleration on toe off and that resupination phase out of their gait cycle, versus someone who may just need something that's going to give them a little bit more of a push, and also that, as we've addressed, over strides as well, because ASICS again have highlighted that the Sky is designed for someone who has a longer stride and is probably more looking for a shoe that's going to give them that vertical lift in reference to pushing the carbon plate closer to the foot, in comparison to the Edge, which is going to push you forward, being the carbon plate really dips down to the front half of that shoe with a more aggressive angle. Again, I can see what ASICS are doing here. I really like it. They're not basically saying, well, if you take this shoe out of the picture, being the Sky, and if they say this is their only racing shoe, well, of course, it's going to be fine. There's going to be a lot of people that are going to enjoy that shoe, but there will be a percentage of the runners out there that will not get along with it. Hence, we have the Sky. I think it's fantastic that they've got two shoes on offer for you, the running community. The reality is, though, we do need, as a runner, to try them on to experience what both have to offer. Again, it's all about reducing that perceived effort and which shoe feels faster on your foot, entry, mid stance to toe off. Now, to make it a little bit more confusing as well, I do want to talk to the outsole as well. So as we lift them up, you can see through here, I've got the Metaspeed Sky, which is the red-based outsole, and the Metaspeed Edge, which is the black base. You can see side by side that the Metaspeed Sky has a slight cutout on the lateral side of the forefoot through here, in comparison to the Edge, which is obviously fully encapsulated with that black foam. The different colors of foam does help us identify the two different shoes, so thanks ASICS for making it just a little bit easier for us. But the reason that the Metaspeed Sky has this cutout was more to what I was talking about a second ago with reference to resupination. So for the more, I would say, runners that are looking for that extremely aggressive toe off, the foot part of me lands on the lateral border, comes across the medial side, and then we restabilize and toe off. So therefore, we need to have that lateral side fully encapsulated with that outsole, which is going to provide a little bit more durability and resilience on toe off, in comparison to the Metaspeed Sky, which we can take a little bit of that weight out because the resupination isn't quite as aggressive in this shoe. Take a little bit of outsole out, not a huge amount of variance through there, but there is enough to suggest that it's going to play something, but also allows the foot to get a little bit closer to the ground and engage with the foam because the carbon plate's closer to the foot. Okay, let's summarize what we've spoken about. So, Edge versus the Sky. Which one should I buy? Basically, side by side, the two, as I said, look very, very similar. We just know from data from last year's Paris model, the Edge is a more popular racing shoe. We feel that it's mainly due to the fact on that perceived toe-off feel, because the carbon plate dips closer to the ground in the forefoot. This just gives you a snappy feel on toe-off. So when you happen to test this two side by side, this does feel really nice as you release out of your gait cycle. That being said though, not all runners like to feel that explosive toe off, and it can be that that resupination phase is sometimes too much for them to tolerate. So we love the Metaspeed Sky for that runner. It still gives that light, snappy feel on reference to entry, mid stance and toe off, but it just worked better with specific foot types and specific stride gait cycles as such. So looking at the two, I'm really excited. I love what ASICS have done. I think ASICS have done this in reference to colors and how they put these two shoes together for one reason and one reason only. And no, it's not to make it more confusing for us, because yes, I'll tip my hat to them. It certainly has done that for most of the running community all around the world. But if you take the top 100 runners who cross the finish line in a marathon, and if out of that top 100, just statistically, if they're wearing ASICS, you're probably going to have 70% in the Edge and 30% in the Sky. But for you, the consumer who watches that event and sees people cross the line, all you're seeing is 100% Metaspeed Tokyos, whether it be the Edge or the Sky. So brand market share and brand validation, or reference to the brand awareness, is probably more what I'm getting to. You're just seeing Metaspeed Tokyos. And that's exactly why ASICS have made the two look exactly the same. However, by obviously producing two different executions of midsoles to provide a different output for different runners and meeting their needs. So I hope today's review has been somewhat helpful. I know it's confusing, we certainly appreciate it, but help us, help the running community. If you've got some comments or theories about how the shoes have been put together and what you have as experience at home, please drop us a comment in the comment section below. And let us know if this video has been helpful. We will try to continue to educate you, the great running community all around the world, around what shoes do, how they're put together, and why brands have executed specific engineering features in their products. Obviously, the whole game plan here for all brands, they're trying to manufacture shoes that are going to allow people to enjoy the experience of running. So thank you so much for watching. We sincerely appreciate it. If you've got any comments, as I said, drop it in the section below. Till next time, stay safe, happy running, and we hope to see you out on the road. Take care.